Good afternoon. My name is Corinne Waldow. I'm the Economic Development Director at the Boulder Chamber. I want to thank you for joining this week's Office Manufacturing and Field Services call, where you can get your questions answered, the most up-to-date information, not just on your industry, but maybe on trends in Boulder County, for example, the outbreak trends this past week. And then we'd also like, if at any time, for you to provide feedback. And I will be launching a poll later on having to do with face coverings to help inform decisions being made in Boulder County. At this time, I'm going to hand it over to Jesse Rounds of Boulder County Public Health.
Thanks, Corinne, and thank you all for joining us today. I will do just sort of the intro section for the office-based businesses, manufacturing, and field services. Today, we're going to do just a quick update on the public health order, some epidemiological updates, a little bit about Protect Our Neighbors, which is the next phase we'll be going into, and then sector updates and Q&A to close out. Here's our timeline for the last couple weeks in terms of the state's updates to the public health order. And the big news was last week we had the updates to outdoor and indoor events and camps, and that was finalized in the revised the seventh revision of the public health order on Friday. And then at the same time, the governor announced that the next phase would be Protect Our Neighbors, which at the time he was predicting would be available for communities to move to within the month of July. So just, you know, we've hit on this over and over again in every single presentation, but Safer at Home is still here and it's evolving. Protect Our Neighbors is really just an evolution of Safer at Home in the same way that Safer at Home was an evolution of the Stay at Home order. It's not going to go away, and it will be with us for months until we find a vaccine or a successful treatment for COVID-19. And that's because COVID-19 is still just as contagious as it was at the beginning of the year. Just two main points here. Compliance with the orders is obligatory for all businesses. And if you have additional questions, if you have specific questions about how your business or your practices might apply to the order, please contact an attorney. Face coverings, this seems very important to hit on, and so I'm going to spend a little time here. There are face covering orders in a number of municipalities. The county has a face covering order, and the state requires face coverings in almost every situation. But really, the way to think about it is, if you are outside of your own house and you do not think you can maintain 6 feet of distance at all times, consider wearing a face mask. You should be wearing a face mask. And this is something to encourage others to do. You know, we're really looking at trying to find ways to encourage face mask or face covering wearing, as opposed to shaming people into it or you know, requiring it in all situations. This is a way to protect you and your neighbors for the long term. And that's why we have the face covering guidance on our website that we developed in cooperation with the chamber, as well as the face covering script, which is really for businesses to give you sort of a sense of comfort speaking with members of the public who either don't feel comfortable wearing a face mask, don't want to wear a face mask, or for public or for their own health reasons can't wear a face mask. There are ways you can provide services, and this face covering script gets it into that. And I think what we're trying to do there is both say, yes, you can still have a business and limit access if people won't wear a face mask. And you can also communicate that face masks are a really good and important part of helping us control the spread of COVID-19. This is, again, another slide that you've seen over and over again, and it's still true. The best sources of information for public health requirements are the Colorado website, covid19.colorado.gov, and then our own COVID-19 business link, which has some more specific information about Boulder County, access to that face covering script, and those guides for when you need to be wearing a mask. These other resources are great for obtaining supplies like Energize Colorado, but the other resources here are really ways to communicate with other businesses in your sector or other businesses outside of your sector that may be experiencing many of the same questions, concerns, problems. We're here to help, but speaking with someone in your own industry who's experiencing the same issues is probably way better than talking to us about how to deal with it. But we can give you what the state is requesting and what we're requesting of businesses. As I mentioned before, the 7th revised order is up on the county, or I'm sorry, on the state website, and there's a link to that. My colleagues will be going into detail about how the revised order affects specific industries, but one thing I wanted to point out here was with this update, we're actually going to go away from providing our own checklists, which we have done in the past. We created them at the beginning of the Safer at Home process because we thought it provided a lot of helpful information in one place because we weren't seeing that really at the state level. But now the state has developed pretty much the same tool on their own website. And so it seems easier to just have you go to the website. And one thing I'd like to clarify, it's come up in a couple presentations. If what we say is in the 7th or in a revised public health order contradicts what you see on the website, look at the public health order itself, which is where we're looking. That is the law. The website may take a day, 2 days, 3 days to update. Everyone is working overtime to try and get all this up on the web and get it accessible, but sometimes it takes a little while to get there. The revised order is a PDF that gets put up as soon as it's signed by the public health officials and approved by the governor and all of that. So that's the place to get the latest information, and that's where we're pulling our information from. Now, switching gears a little bit, this very depressing chart is the 5-day running average of cases, new COVID-19 cases in Boulder County. And as you can see, in the last week, 2 weeks, we've had a huge spike. And information about where that spike came from and all of that is out there in the public, but it's less important where it came from. I can assure you that, and we'll get into it in a little bit, that authorities are looking at how to affect those specific areas. But the reality is that now that we've seen an uptick, it's going to spread, and we need to be very conscientious. And that's why I mentioned the masks before, and I'm going to keep mentioning masks. Masks and social distancing are the only way we're going to be able to stay open as a business community and provide protection for our customers and our employees. And I think this chart really illustrates that one or two small poor decisions can have a huge knock-on effect. Just a little bit more about those outbreaks. This information is as of last week, but it hasn't really changed. There are 3 confirmed active outbreaks. And in the last 28 days, we've resolved 2 outbreaks. And this is since in the last 6 weeks, our epidemiological team and some of the folks on our business liaison team have been working with 45 different workplaces to assess the possibility of outbreaks. So we're definitely getting out there and working with the business community. And I just want to say we really appreciate it. Our epidemiological team really appreciates your cooperation because knowledge is power on this one, and knowing where the outbreaks are, who's involved, is the best way for us to really jump on top of those. But it's also about enforcement, and that's why I want to go into a little bit of that. As I mentioned before, the city of Boulder and CU, because the most recent outbreak occurred amongst students who were attending parties, both the city and CU have modified some of their enforcement authorities. The city has updated made an executive order to amend their public nuisance definition to allow them to go after individuals at parties. And CU is modifying their code of conduct. And that's really to affect students now, but it's also about when students start coming back in the fall, how do we get at educating a whole new population of people who are going to be arriving maybe from home, maybe from places with less COVID-19, more COVID-19 infections. We need to be able to communicate with them. And so I want to thank both the city and CU for being great partners on this, and also just use this to illustrate that there is active enforcement action happening. You can read more about it on the Daily Camera website, just a link to that story, but we're working with various partners to try and work on that. But again, it's a community-wide effort. If you have young people who are on your staff or are your customers, really making mask wearing and social distancing part of your message about how to be happy in Boulder is really the best message we can give out. We really want people to know that this is not about just us making rules for the purpose of making rules. We're trying to limit the spread to the whole community, but also limit the spread to vulnerable populations. And it's about masks and social distancing. So all that outbreak news does have an impact on the next phases. And I wanted to hit on both the next phase from the state, as well as the variance request that we've been talking about for a couple weeks. Protect Our Neighbors is the next phase as announced by the governor. It would not really change necessarily each individual industry's guidance very much, but what it would do is change the maximum number of people in events. That's at least their draft discussion, but it really is just draft, and we haven't seen any updates on that. They proposed that it would start in July, but we haven't seen any recent drafts, and July is quickly approaching. On top of that, it's really important to note that unlike safer at home and stay at home, to move to this next phase, your community has to apply essentially, and has to meet certain specific thresholds. And this outbreak that happened a couple weeks ago puts us in danger of not making those thresholds. And so while we're going to be communicating with the state and working with the state to make sure that we protect our business community and we protect our community as best we can, we're also going to be honest with the community and with the state. The reality is that it's possible that if they offer communities the right to apply at the beginning of July, we may not be ready from a public health standpoint in terms of the outbreak to move to that phase. And that's also true of our variance request. The variance request standards are already published and available, and we do not meet them. And so we cannot apply for a variance at this time. We had high hopes for the ability of our variance to really free up our business community to focus on running their businesses and staying safe. But because of the outbreak, we can't meet the targets, the thresholds that the state has set. And so we're taking, again, those comments that you all submitted. Thank you for doing that, and crafting our variance, but we can't submit it until we meet the thresholds that the state requires. With that, I'll hand it over to Lalo. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Jesse. Yeah, my name is Lalo Shash. I'm with Boulder County Public Health. I'm one of the office liaisons here. So there haven't been any specific updates to the office sector in the new public health order. The main update is just these outbreaks in Boulder County. So we all want to do our part to be diligent about encouraging face mask use and a lot of the things about social distancing and best practices. So just going through some of that, I'll go through just By the way, if you haven't looked at the public health order, Jesse did share the link at the beginning. And then, you click on, the public health order amended number 7. And all this information can be found under Appendix C, which refers to offices. So I encourage you to go in. There's a lot of really great information as well as the state's website. So just to go over, just please continue. We are still at 50% max capacity for in-office employees or less. So, if you are requiring your employees to come back to work, again, only 50% max capacity or less. If you can encourage them to work remotely from home or teleconference, rotating schedules, going to breaks at different times, things like that. Anything you can do to encourage that, we would strongly encourage that as well. Good signage, reminders, reminders for social distancing, the good signage. It's just really good if you can have an entry and an exit, plan for your workers. If you are requiring them to return to the office, that they have about 6 feet minimum between workstations. If you can increase that, of course, that's better. Try to think about flow of where people will be walking as well, and if they're going to be passing by someone's desk, and different, of course, there's those plexiglass barriers. There's different things you can do to prevent the transmission of the disease. Of course, cleaning high touch surfaces, doorknobs, door handles. Of course, like if you have a shared printer, anything where there's going to be a lot of, high touch surfaces, we please disinfect that according to the CDPH guidelines. More frequently, the better. Temp checks for your employees coming in. There's a great website, also a great resource on the CDPH website as well, that has symptom tracking. I highly recommend that you take a look at that. There's different things to do, whether it's moderate, severe, and of course, like what was mentioned already, if you have sick employees, please have them stay home as well. When in doubt, please have them stay home. And the best way to encourage the social distancing is also is appoint a coordinator there within your office, someone that can take charge, promoting mask use, social distancing, someone there in the office that's going to be the point person, send out reminders to staff about social distancing, and again, encouraging outdoor or online, meeting platforms as much as possible. Next. And just some common questions that have come up. So the 50% max in-office occupancy, this applies to office space, okay? This posted occupancy limits. So this does not include additional rooms. There was a question that came up regarding conference rooms. So no, that does not include conference rooms. We're thinking about workspace, office space, and when in doubt, please go with the more restrictive guidelines for your benefit and also for your employees as well. Homemade masks are okay. Some office settings have several different sectors. Some may have manufacturing, retail, etc. If you have different sectors, please follow those guidelines specifically spelled out in the public health order regarding those sectors. So you may be, so part of your office may be following office guidelines, but if you have manufacturing or retail, then that sector would follow the manufacturing or retail guidelines set forth by CDPHE. And because this, we are coming into allergy season, if you are unsure if it's allergies or COVID, again, stay home. If you are unsure, stay home. When in doubt, use that face mask. and get tested or consult a medical professional. But there's a lot of great information there. And with that, I will pass it on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Lalo. My name's Ambra, and I'm with Boulder County, and I am the Field Services Business Liaison. And just wanted to give you an update that we did not have any current updates under this, the most current order. And as Jesse mentioned, we are taking the checklist down, so please refer to the state CDPHE guidelines for field services for this area. Next slide, please. So just wanted to run over a common Q&A for this field services. So some of that includes no open houses are allowed at this time. In-person real estate showings are permitted with COVID-19 measures in place. Occupied properties can be shown with COVID-19 measures in place. And if employees are working outside or indoors by themselves, no face covering is required. And then just to address a few highlights from the general rules. So still no meetings, showings, appraisals, or gatherings of 10 or more people. Gloves and face coverings are required for any in-person interactions or any work being done in third-party homes or office spaces. Maintain 6-foot distancing from all employees and customers. And then this is basically at all times. So, if you are interacting with employees and customers, try to maintain that as much as possible. And then sanitize all high-touch tools and equipment, and that includes any shared equipment. Make sure that that is being sanitized often. And then, just as Lalo mentioned, assigning a COVID coordinator to facilitate planning, communication, and resources to implement procedures and monitor for symptoms and health checks. Next slide, please, and I'll turn it over to Alexandra.
Thank you. Thanks, Ambra. I'm Alexandra Phillips. I'm also with Boulder County, and my sector is manufacturing. And so some of the common questions is that all manufacturing has to follow the general rules plus the face mask and wearing the face mask when 6-foot distancing cannot be done. As several people mentioned, we're taking down our checklist, so go to the state site. If the checklist isn't updated there's the non-critical manufacturing checklist, there's also best practices for all businesses, and that's where the critical manufacturing would go. In the actual order, if you want to go directly to the language for the non-critical manufacturing, you go to Appendix H. For the critical manufacturing, and that's where it gets a little confusing because there is no actual appendix, it's just in the body of the order for all best practices for all businesses. So for all manufacturing, again, I kind of jumped ahead there, but I thought it was important to note that that was Appendix H for non-critical. For all manufacturing, symptom checks at entrance, and if you can't do it right there, not possible, you can do it at home and report it either electronically or using paper. I also put in here, this is not in the checklist, but this was actually something that Corinne mentioned weeks ago. That's a really good contact, is Manufacturer's Edge can help give you ideas on how to set up the manufacturing facility differently so you can have that distancing, and a lot of other resources from Manufacturer's Edge, and you just Google them, they've got their own website. Next slide. So this is just for critical manufacturing. Good idea for everybody. And this is the first bullet point is new as of last week. So it's not new this week, but as of last week that they can have, I'm sorry, there's a typo on this, just for non-critical manufacturing. I'm sorry about that typo. This is for non-critical manufacturing. Critical manufacturing does not have any specific numbers attached to it. So 50% or up to 50 people per room, whichever is fewer. But you have to maintain that 6-foot social distancing. So to have 50 people in a room, you need a very large facility. A room has a door and walls. maintain the one-way flow of work and people so you're not passing each other. And then daily full cleaning between shifts. So if you have 3 shifts, that's 3 times of cleaning the facility. And then also using impermeable barriers when possible. And those are my slides. I'll hand it back to Jesse, I think.
Sorry about that. I was muted and trying to click on too many things at once. Thank you all for the industry-specific updates. I just wanted to close out by saying we're going to continue to have these discussions, and they're going to continue to be updates to the public health orders. So tune in each week, and we'll try and give you the latest information. The Tuesday sessions will remain the same. Wednesday is our Spanish session, and that has a rotating subject. And then we've discontinued the Thursday session. Get in all those questions on Tuesday. And really importantly though, if you have questions and it's not Tuesday and you don't want to sit in on this session, you can email us, covidbiz@bouldercounty.org, or call center, or the call center. And just a reminder, as of July 6th, the call center will be reducing hours to 9 to 2, Monday through Friday. So I think that's a change, but you know, we're expecting the levels of service to remain the same. They're a really great crew that's been working with us there, and we're excited to give them a couple hours off at the end of the day. But with that, happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks, Jesse. So with these recent increases in numbers and outbreaks, I know that some offices, manufacturers, or real estate, you know, any of the areas in this don't see a direct tie to their business. But what's a good message to say about how this is a community-wide, and how offices or manufacturers can continue to you know, talk about safe practices so that we as a community can get our numbers back down?
Sure. I mean, I think the easiest way to think about it is that if in your place of business you're following all the rules, are you sure that your employees and your customers are following all the rules when they leave your business? And that's the reason that we're asking that businesses reach out, talk to their employees, talk to their customers, and use signage. You don't really have to have conversations with everybody, but you know, last week we had conversations with a couple businesses that have younger employees, and really trying to bring home to them the fact that is a great opportunity for them to talk to their employees about what it means to be responsible for the whole community, because each of us at this point is responsible for the whole community. Our interactions outside of our homes are to some extent uncontrollable by us. So what we try to do with masking and social distancing is provide some of that, a bit of a safety factor. So what I encourage businesses to do is use the signage that the Boulder Chamber produced. It's really great. It communicates very quickly and very clearly what we're asking people to do and why we're asking people to do it. So I think the resources are out there. It's not all on you, it's on the entire community, but we want everyone to see that their little bit of communication with someone has a huge impact in the long run.
Because if as a community our numbers don't start coming down, it will affect offices and manufacturing and real estate. Yep. Because we won't be able to move to that protect our neighbors phase or do the variants at the same rate as other counties.
And Corinne, that's a really great point. And I think it's something that I hit on last week that I didn't hit on this week, and that is just because we've made it to safer at home, and we're thinking about moving to protect our neighbor, if we continue to see spikes and public health, both at the county and state level, start to see us backsliding to the point where we're not able to control infection rates, we as a county could go back to stay at home. And that could have impacts on businesses. It could have impacts on surrounding counties. it's really important that we think about this as a community-wide effort to get us to either a safer place or a more open for business place.
I had a business contact me last week who had a younger employee who happened to be, exposed to some of the people that may have gotten COVID-19, and they started to think, wait, I hope that person's following the mask guide. We have all these rules in place, but once they enter your office, now they're exposing the other employees, and let's make sure they're following the rules and requirements. They're doing the social distancing, they're wearing their masks, they're washing their hands, because what they did outside of work could impact my business. And then I have to start thinking about the vendors that interacted and all the customers non-office that came in, and that it starts to become stressful. So having communications with your employees, having communication with your customers as to why it's important to follow safe practices will impact not only your business, but our community, which will then impact your business. So I think we heard a lot about it. In response to the recent uptick, I know that the executive director of Boulder County Public Health issued a letter, and I'm going to be attaching this letter in this particular section's emails. But it really brought home the fact that in Safer at Home, within the office area, it said a maximum no more than 50%, but really to maximize telecommuting when possible, so that we can minimize the exposure between people, especially with recent outbreaks. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys want to mention anything else there, but this was issued by Jeff Zayak, and I'll copy it here, but this is kind of that feeling that if people can telecommute and work from home, to continue doing so. And that even the Safer at Home says 50% maximum, but that doesn't mean you have to hit 50% if those people can safely work from home. All right, so I also had a lot of questions this week from people that talk about, well, I go into this place and they're not wearing masks, or they're doing this. Should people report violations, not just in your business, but in other businesses, to help with that community communication and strategies?
It's a fine line question. I don't want to encourage everyone to go out there looking for violations. It's not a very friendly way to run a community. But if you go into a business and you're made uncomfortable by the way they are managing their staff, let us know. I mean, and we're not going to, and to those businesses who are saying we're doing the best we can, but we're not there yet, or we have an employee or two who are not willing to make the change, we're here to work with you. We're not going to show up on everyone's doorstep and shut them down. And so if you think that you're going to shut down a competitor or something like that, that's not going to happen. We're going to reach out to a business, say, hey, we heard a report. Here's the information we have. Here are resources. We want to help. Because the reality is that this is hard. We get that. I don't own a business, but I can tell this is a huge, heavy lift. And we're here to try to figure out a way for you to make that lift while still opening your business and being successful. And we want that for every business in the county. So yes, if you see businesses or a particular employee who's not following the rules, report it and we can handle it. We just don't want a situation where people think that they're gonna tattletale on everyone. It just doesn't work that way. We're not here to punish people. We're here to educate.
Yeah. So most of these cases, the individual had called the manager and there was great resolution, and they appreciated hearing that. So I just wanted to talk about that education component that you guys provide and in helping businesses. So are there any other questions out there from the audience? You can put it in the Q&A, you can put it in the chat. Heck, I'd even let you raise your hand at this point if you want to talk to them, although we have quite a few Boulder County Public Health people on the phone to answer questions. All right, well, seeing as I don't have any, I'm going to be sending out the regular email, but in this week's version, I will make a direct link to the Public Health Order number 7, since they referenced it, change all the checklist links to be the state sites, give you some new resources that have come out about PPE and cleaning supplies, just access to some more resources. There's also this new small business assistance program to help small businesses really access legal advice, because we know that a lot of times on these calls we hear and it says, if you need help interpreting, contact your lawyer. And I know a lot of you out there don't have lawyers. So the state of Colorado has created a volunteer network of lawyers to assist, and I'm going to include that in the email as well. So if you need that legal advice, please apply to get some assistance from this, especially for the small businesses. Other than that, we hope you continue to attend. We will know more as we enter July as far as our numbers and that movement to protect our neighbors. And as that happens, there will be changes, and we'll try to communicate it as much as possible. With that, I want to wish everybody a great afternoon, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Corinne.
Everyone.